We are reading Burton Raffel's translation of Beowulf, chapters 4 through 6. Their leader answered him, Beowulf unlocking words from deep in his breast. We are Gates, men who follow Hygelac. My father was a famous soldier, known far and wide as a leader of men. His name was Edgefell. His life lasted many winters. Wise men all over the earth surely remember him still. And we have come, seeking your prince, Healfdene's son, protector of this people. Only in friendship. Instruct us, watchmen. Help us with your words. Our errand is a great one. Our business with the glorious king of the Danes, no secret. There's nothing dark or hidden in our coming. You know, if we've heard the truth and been told honestly, that your country is cursed with some strange, vicious creature that hunts only at night and that no one has seen. It's said, watchmen, that he has slaughtered your people, brought terror to the darkness. Perhaps Hrothgar can hunt here in my heart for some way to drive this devil out. If anything will ever end the evils afflicting your wise and famous lord. Here he can cool his burning sorrow, or else he may see his suffering go on forever, for as long as Heorot towers high on your hills. The mounted officer answered him bluntly, the brave watchman. A soldier should know the difference between words and deeds, and keep that knowledge clear in his brain. I believe your words. I trust in your friendship. Go forward. Weapons and armor and all, on to Denmark. I'll guide you myself, and my men will guard your ship. Keep it safe here on our shores. Your fresh-tarred boat, watch it well, until that curving prow carries across the sea to Gateland a chosen warrior who bravely does battle with the creature hunting our people, who survives that horror unhurt, goes home, bearing our love. Then they moved on. Their boat lay moored, tied tight to its anchor. Glittering at the top of their golden helmets, wild boarheads gleamed, shining decorations swinging as they marched, erect like guards, like sentinels, as though ready to fight. They marched, Beowulf and his men and their guide, until they could see the gables of Heorot, covered with hammered gold and glowing in the sun, that most famous of all dwellings. Towering, majestic, its glittering roofs visible far across the land. Their guide reined in his horse, pointing to that hall, built by Hrothgar for the best and bravest of his men. The path was plain. They could see their way. And then he spoke. Now I must leave you. May the Lord our God protect your coming and going. The sea is my job. Keeping these coasts free of invaders, band of pirates, I must go back. The path he'd shown them was paved, cobbled like a Roman road. They arrived with their mail shirts glittering, silver shining, links clanking in iron song as they came. Sea-weary still, they set their broad, battle-hardened shields in rows along the wall, then stretched themselves on Heorot's benches. Their armor rang, their ashwood spears stood in a line, gray-tipped and straight. The gates' war gear were honored weapons. A Danish warrior asked who they were, their names, and their fathers. Where have you carried these gold-carved shields from, these silvery shirts and helmets, and those spears cut out in long lines? I'm Hrothgar's herald and captain. Strangers have come here before, but never so freely, so bold, and you come too proudly to be exiles. Not poverty, but your heart's high courage has brought you to Hrothgar. He was answered by a famous soldier, the Gates' proud prince. We follow Hygelac, break bread at his side. I am Beowulf. My errand is for Healfdene's great son to hear. Your glorious lord, if he chooses to receive us, we will greet him, salute the chief of the Danes, and speak out our message. Wulfgar replied, a prince born of the Swedes, famous for both strength and wisdom. Our warm-hearted lord will be told of your coming. I shall tell our king, our giver of bright rings, and hurry back with his word, and speak it here, however he answers your request. He went quickly to where Hrothgar sat, gray and old in the middle of his men. And knowing the custom of that court, walked straight to the king's great chair, stood, waiting to be heard, then spoke. There are Geats who have come sailing the open ocean to our land, come far over the high waves, led by a warrior called Beowulf. They wait on your word, bring messages for your ears alone. My lord, grant them a gracious answer, see them and hear what they've come for. Their weapons and armor are nobly worked. These men are no beggars. And Beowulf, their prince, who showed them the way to our shores, is a mighty warrior, powerful and wise. The Danes' high prince and protector answered, I knew Beowulf as a boy. His father was Ecgtho, who was given Hrethul's one daughter, Raffel, Higlac's father. Now Ecgtho's brave son is here, come visiting a friendly king. And I've heard that when seamen came, bringing their gifts and presents to the gates, they wrestled and ran together, and Higlac's young prince, that's Beowulf, showed them a mighty battle grip, hands that moved with 30 men's strength and courage to match. Our Holy Father has sent him as a sign of his grace, a mark of his favor, to help us defeat Grendel and end that terror. I shall greet him with treasures, gifts to reward his courage in coming to us. Quickly, order them all to come to me together, Beowulf and his band of Geats, and tell them, too, how welcome we will make them. Then Wulfgar went to the door and addressed the waiting seafarers with soldiers' words. My lord, the great king of the Danes, commands me to tell you that he knows of your noble birth, and that having come to him from over the open sea, you have come bravely and are welcome. Now go to him as you are, in your armor and helmets. But leave your battle shields here and your spears. Let them lie waiting for the promises your words may make. Beowulf arose, with his men around him, ordering a few to remain with their weapons, leading the others quickly along, under Heorot's steep roof, into Hrothgar's presence. Standing on that prince's own hearth, helmeted, the silvery metal of his mail shirt gleaming with a smith's high art, he greeted the Danes' great lord. Hail, Hrothgar! Hygelac is my cousin and my king. The days of my youth have been filled with glory. Now Grendel's name has echoed in our land. Sailors have brought us stories of Heorot, the best of all mead halls, deserted and useless when the moon hangs in skies the sun had lit. Light and life fleeing together. My people have said, the wisest, most knowing, and best of them, that my duty was to go to the Danes, great king. They have seen my strength for themselves, have watched me rise from the darkness of war, dripping with my enemy's blood. I drove 5 great giants into chains, chased all of that race from the earth. I swam in the blackness of night, hunting monsters out of the ocean and killing them one by one. Death was my errand, the fate they had earned. Now Grendel and I are called together, and I have come. Grant me then, Lord and protector of this nobler place, a single request. I have come so far, O shelter of warriors and your people's loved friend, that this one favor you should not refuse me, that I alone, and with the help of my men, may purge all the evil from this hall. I have heard, too, that the monster's scorn of men is so great that he needs no weapons, fears none, nor will I. My lord Hygelac might think less of me if I let my sword go where my feet were afraid to. If I hid behind some broad linden shield, my hands alone shall fight for me, struggle for life against the monster. God must decide who will be given to death's cold grip. Grendel's plan, I think, will be what it has been before, to invade this hall and gorge his belly with our bodies, if he can. And I think, if my time will have come, there will be nothing to mourn over, no corpse to prepare for its grave. Grendel will carry our bloody flesh to the moors, crush on our bones, and smear torn scraps of our skin on the walls of his dead. No, I expect no Danes will fret about sewing our shrouds if he wins. And if death does take me, send the hammered mail of my armor to Higlath. Return the inheritance I had from Raffel, and he from Wayland. Fate will unwind as it must. If you want to continue reading our next week's reading, well, we're going to do 7, 8, and 9 in class. I'll go ahead and read it here. If you missed class, then you could probably catch up on your reading by following along. 7. Hrothgar replied, protector of the Danes, Beowulf, you've come to us in friendship, and because of the reception your father found at our court, Edge, had begun a bitter feud, killing Halflaff, a wolfing warrior. Your father's countrymen were afraid of war if he returned to his home, and they turned him away. It's kind of a flashback. Then he traveled across the curving waves to the land of the Danes. I was new to the throne, then a young man, ruling this wide kingdom and its golden city. Hrothgar, my older brother, a far better man than I, had died, and dying made me second among Healfdane's sons, first in this nation. I bought the end of Edge's quarrel, sent ancient treasures through the ocean's furrows to the Wolfings. Your father swore he'd keep that peace. Oh, my tongue grows heavy and my heart when I try to tell you what Grendel has brought us, the damage he's done here in this hall. You see for yourself how much smaller our ranks have become, and can guess what we've lost. Surely the Lord Almighty could stop his madness, smother his lust. How many times have my men, glowing with courage, drawn from too many cups of ale, sworn to stay after dark and stem that horror with a sweep of their swords? And then in the morning, this mead hall, glittering with new light, would be drenched with blood. The benches stained red, the floors all wet from that fiend's savage assault. And my soldiers would be fewer still, death taking more and more. But to table, Beowulf, a banquet in your honor. Let us toast your victories and talk of the future. Then Hrothgar's men gave places to the gates, yielded benches to the brave visitors, and led them to the feast. The keeper of the mead came carrying out the carved flasks and poured that bright sweetness. A poet sang from time to time in a clear, pure voice. Danes and visiting gates celebrated as one, drank and rejoiced. Unferth spoke, Ecglaf's son, who sat at Hrothgar's feet. He spoke harshly and sharp, vexed by Beowulf's adventure, by their visitors' courage, and angry that anyone in Denmark or anywhere on earth had ever acquired glory and fame greater than his own. You're Beowulf, are you? The same boastful fool who fought a swimming match with Brecca? Both of you daring and young and proud, exploring the deepest seas, risking your lives for no reason but the danger. All older and wiser heads warned you, no, not to, but no one could check such pride. So let me just pause for a minute. Unferth is part of Hrothgar's court, right? And he knows of this story of Beowulf. He's remembering that Beowulf and Brecca kind of had this swimming battle, if you will, and he's going to remind Beowulf of it. He's kind of this boastful, arrogant guy. Back to the story. The sea paths your swift-moving hands pulling you over the ocean's face. Sorry, started in the middle of a sentence there. Then winter churned through the water. The waves ran you as they willed, and you struggled 7 long nights to survive. Again, let me just comment. If you can make it 7 nights in a very cold, icy sea, you're a pretty tough warrior. I don't think Unferth has much room to speak here. And at the end, the victory was his, not yours. The sea carried him close to his home, to southern Norway, near the land of the Brondings, where he ruled and was loved, where his treasure was piled and his strength protected, his towns and his people. He'd promised to outswim you. Bonston's son made that boast ring true. You've been lucky in your battles, Beowulf, but I think your luck may change if you challenge Grendel. Staying a whole night through in this hall, waiting where the fiercest demons can find you? Beowulf answered, Ecgló's great son. Ah, Unferth, my friend, your face is hot with ale. You drank too much, he sang, and your tongue has tried to tell us about Brecca's doing. But the truth is simple. No man swims in the sea as I can. No strength is a match for mine. As boys, Brecca and I had boasted we were both too young to know better, that we'd risk our lives far out at sea. And so we did. Each of us carried a naked sword, prepared for whales or the swift sharp teeth and beaks of needlefish. He could never leave me behind, swim faster across the waves than I could, and I had chosen to remain close by his side. I remained near him for 5 long nights, until a flood swept us apart. The frozen sea surged around me. It grew dark. The wind turned bitter, blowing from the north, and the waves were savage. This is very superhuman. Creatures who sleep deep in the sea were stirred into life, and the iron-hammered links of my mail shirt, these shining bits of metal woven across my breast, saved me from death. A monster seized me, drew me swiftly toward the bottom, swimming with its claws tight in my flesh. But fate let me find its heart with my sword. Hack myself free. I fought that beast's last battle, left it floating lifeless in the sea. So Beowulf reminds Unferth about what really happened out in the sea. So here he is, swimming for 7 days. He's got his heavy metal mail shirt on, and after 5 days encounters this monster and kills him. And this is a mighty warrior, an epic hero, if you will. Chapter 9. The story continues. Other monsters crowded around me, continually attacking. I treated them politely, offering the edge of my razor-sharp sword. But the feast, I think, did not please them, filled their evil bellies with no banquet-rich food, thrashing there at the bottom of the sea. By morning, they decided to sleep on the shore, lying on their backs, their blood spilled out on the sand. It's a funny way to say that he killed all these monsters. Afterwards, sailors could cross that sea road and feel no fear. Nothing would stop their passing. Then God's bright beacon appeared in the east. The water lay still, and at last it could see the land. Wind swept cliff walls at the edge of the coast. Fate saves the living when they drive away death by themselves. That's an interesting one to commonplace. Kind of fate versus man's effort kind of balance there. Lucky or not, 9 was the number of sea-huge monsters I killed. What man anywhere under heaven's high arch has fought in such darkness, endured more misery, or been harder pressed? Yet I survived the sea, smashed the monster's hot jaws, swam home from my journey. The swift flowing waters swept me along, and I landed on finished soil. This part's great. I love it. No tales of you, Unferth, telling of such clashing terror, such contests in the night. Brecca's battles were never so bold. Neither he nor you can match me, and I mean no boast, have announced no more than I know to be true. And there's more. Now he's going to expose Unferth a little bit. You murdered your brothers, your own close kin. Words and bright wit won't help your soul. You'll suffer hell's fires, Unferth, forever tormented. Ecgló's proud son, if your hands were as hard, your heart as fierce as you think it, no fool would dare to raid your hall and ruin Heorot and oppress its prince, as Grendel has done. But he's learned that terror is his alone. Discovered he can come for your people with no fear of reprisal. He's found no fighting here, but only food, only delight, He murders as he likes with no mercy, gorges and feasts on your flesh, and expects no trouble, no quarrel from the quiet Danes. He's kind of throwing down some, what do they call it? I don't know. He's putting Unferth in his place. How about that? Now the gates will show him courage. Soon he can test his strength in battle. And when the sun comes up again, opening another bright day from the south, anyone in Denmark may enter this hall. That evil will be gone. Hrothgar, gray-haired and brave, sat happily listening. The famous ring giver, sure at last that Grendel could be killed. He believed in Beowulf's bold strength and the firmness of his spirit. There was the sound of laughter and the cheerful clanking of cups and pleasant words. Then Wealhtheow, Hrothgar's gold-ringed queen, greeted the warriors, a noble woman who knew what was right. I like that terminology, that description of her, a queen who knew what was right. She raised a flowing cup to Hrothgar first, holding it high for the Lord of the Danes to drink, wishing him joy in that feast. The famous king drank with pleasure and blessed their banquet. Then Wealhtheow went from warrior to warrior, pouring a portion from the jeweled cup for each, till the bracelet-wearing queen had carried the mead cup among them, and it was Beowulf's turn to be served. She saluted the gate's great prince, thanked God for answering her prayers, for allowing her hands the happy duty of offering mead to a hero who would help her afflicted people. He drank what she poured, Edgelow's brave son, then assured the Danish queen that his heart was firm and his hands ready. When we crossed the sea, my comrades and I already knew that all my purpose was this, to win the goodwill of your people or die in battle. Pressed in Grendel's fierce grip. Let me live in greatness and courage, or here in this hall welcome my death. Wealhtheow was pleased with his words. His bright tongue boasts she carried them back to her lord, walked nobly across to his side. The feast went on, laughter and music, and the brave words of warriors celebrating their delight. Then Hrothgar rose, Healfdane's son, heavy with sleep as soon as the sun had gone. He knew that Grendel would come to hear it, would visit that hall when night had covered the earth with its net and the shapes of darkness moved black and silent through the world. Hrothgar's warriors rose with him. He went to Beowulf, embraced the gate's brave prince, wished him well, and hoped that Heorot would be his to command. And then he declared, no one strange to this land has ever been granted what I've given you. No one in all the years of my rule. Make this best of all mead halls yours. And then keep it free of evil. Fight with glory in your heart. Purge Heorot, and your ship will sail home with its treasure holds full. That was 7, 8, and 9 of Beowulf. Next week in class we'll do, we're going to do a lot of chapters next week. So tune in if you want to continue to read along. I'll post another video for reading. I hope you've kind of caught the Beowulf bug. Remember, I told you this is a story with 3 battle scenes. And so we'll encounter the first one really soon. God bless you and happy reading.